Hey y'all, it's Clifford Campbell here, and today we are doing percentages. Okay, so let's get started. This is the second part of the TSI review, percentages. I hope you guys love my fancy schmancy computer glasses here. Okay, so in order to do these percentages, now I on the worksheet what you can see is I have like the basic way. Now guys, I don't think they're going to be asking the basic ones, okay? What they're going to be doing is asking these word problem ones. That's typically what you're seeing on the TSI. But let's do some of the basic ones so you get an idea of how they work, okay? So let's do something like this. What is 5% of 134? Let's do something like, what is 6% of, I don't know, 67? 7. Okay, so in order to figure it out, now here's how I tell my students to do this. Of means multiply, okay? Is means equals. What is your x value? Okay, okay, this is supposed to be a multiply, that's supposed to be an x value, like we're solving for it. Okay, so let's work it out. So what is 6%? Remember, in order to switch a percentage to a decimal, that's how we need to multiply them, right? You got to take whatever it is now, so it's 6, and it has a decimal at the end of it, right? We're going to move that over 2 spots. You put that decimal here, and then so there's a spot missing here, so we're going to put a 0. So 6% is written as 0.06. Okay, what is 6% of 67? And then you just use it on this one like that. You would have a calculator on the TSI, okay? So it's going to be up in your upper right-hand corner. So I'm just going to check it on my calculator here. And it's not turning on, so I need to grab a different one. Okay, 0.06 times 67, that is going to be 4.02. So x is equal to 4.02. Okay? Now let's do another one, kind of similar one over here. So what is 125% of 45? Okay, I just did that one for the percentage. Let's just do a percentage that's large. Let's say you have 147%. How do you rewrite that as a decimal? You have a decimal here, right? You move it over. It would be 1.47. Let's just try some other ones. How do you rewrite 85% as a decimal? Move it over 2, make it 0.85. How do you rewrite 5%? 0.05. How do you write 123%? 1.23. Yeah? Okay, that's how you rewrite all those decimals. That's why I asked that second question. It's the same as the first, okay? Okay, 34 is 24% of what? Okay, let's do something like that. So let's go with like 54 is 30% of what? Okay, so 54 is 30% of what? Notice I put the operation or the symbol for everything and converted the percentage to a decimal. Okay, and then how do you solve that though? Yeah, if you have something like this. So you got to solve for x. So what you got to do is the x and the 0.30, they're multiplying, right? And I know this is like, we're doing algebra here, but we got to start somewhere. Okay, you're going to divide. Since they're multiplying, we're going to divide by 0.30. That cancels them from this side. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay? And on this side, it leaves you with only x. So you're going to have 54 divided by 0.30, and that's going to come out to be 180. Yeah? And then you can always put 180 here and see if that makes sense. 30% of 180. That's like a smaller number, right? 30% of this number would be a smaller number. And 30% is about a third of it, right? About a third. So about a third of 180 is about 54. That seems correct. So that's how you do those. Okay, so now we're going to do 108 is what percentage of 250? 108 is what percentage of 250? Okay, so let's write this out here. Say like 80 is what percentage of, I don't know, 200. Okay, let's write it out here. So 80 is what percentage, so we're going to solve for x, what is the thing, right, of 200. Okay, so same thing, we got to solve for x, right? So we're going to divide by 200. That would cancel. And that leaves me with 80 divided by 200, which is going to be 0.40. 0.40. And so that's what x is. It's 0.40. If you want to write it as a percentage, like the answer is probably in percentages, remember, if that's 0.40, the percentage version of that is 40%. Yeah? Okay. Let's go to the next part here. Okay, so that would do all the basic stuff. That's like how to set them up. Now let's do some of this. So let's say you go to a cafe or something and you purchase $50 worth of stuff. Yeah, you're at a restaurant, you purchase $50 worth of stuff. You're expected to leave a tip, correct? $50 worth of stuff, we got to leave a tip. And you know what? I chose the exact same number that's on here. Let me choose a different number. Let's say it's like 60. Okay, I have $60 worth of stuff, and I'm expected to leave a tip. Well, let's say my tip that I got to leave is 15%. So I'm going to figure out what 15% is of this thing. It'd be 0.15, and you can do 60%. So 15% of 60 is going to be 60 times 0.15, and that leaves me with 9. Yeah, so I need to leave a $9 tip in order to do that. So if I got a tab of $60 and I leave 15%, then I got to leave an extra $9. So that means my total would be the $60 I paid plus the $9, which would come out to $69. Yeah? Now that's the total for everything, right? Now if you want to go a quicker route of finding this, you can say, oh, I got the $60, and then I have 100% that I gotta pay 100% of that, which is 1, right? And the 0.15, which is the extra 15% I have to leave. And that would come out to 69 if you type that in your calculator. So there's two ways to solve for tips, like if you're finding a percentage and then adding to it. Okay, what they could do is they could say what percent are you like adding to it, or they might say what percentage are you discounting it, right? Like let's say I went to the store and there were pants on sale. Now the pants were originally, $200. These are some expensive pants. Okay? But they're marked down right now. They have a discount of, let's say, 25%. Sweet. So I'm going to save 25%. So how much are they now? Okay, so, you guys should know how to do this, right? Because, if you go to the store and they say there's a 25% discount, you want to make sure they're giving you a 25% discount, right? So what you're going to do is you could figure out what the discount is by doing 200 times 0.25. Yeah? And that would come out to, let's see real quick. I think it's going to be 150. 200 times 0.25 come out to 50. Now that's how much they are going to be taking off of the pants, right? So if I want to know how much they're going to be on sale for, I would do 200 minus I don't know why I did that. This was 50, right? Minus 50, which is, I am now going to be paying $150 for that, right? But notice, 200 times 0.25 does not give you how much they are now worth, correct? What you need to know how to do is you got to figure out, what do I multiply 200 by? So if I have 200, what do I multiply it by to make it that amount that I'm looking for? And in order to do that, you're going to take 100%. So the pants were originally 100% was worth $200, right? 100% of the pants were worth $200. Well, we're subtracting off 25%. And that comes out to me only owing 75% of what the pants are worth, right? So if I want to figure out what the pants are worth, all I need to do is do 200 times 0.75, and that comes out to 150. So that's how you're going to find this stuff. So if like you have a shirt on sale, let's say the shirt is on sale for, let's say they cost, it originally costed like $70. And you have a discount, discount of 20%, yeah? How are you going to figure out how much the shirt costs? Well, you would do 70 times, not 0.20, not 0.20. You would do 100 minus 20 to figure out how much it's still worth. It's still worth 80% of what it costs. So I'm going to do 70 times 0.80, and that's going to come out to, let's figure this out, 70 times 0.80, $56. That's how much the shirt is now going to be worth. It's $56, okay? So that's what they'd be doing on something like that. And what I've seen is they like stuff like this, where they might say, a pair of shoes is on sale for 35%, and the original cost is in dollars. So write an equation that shows the cost now. Okay, so you're going to have to use that same idea that we were just messing around with. I don't want to tell you the answer because it's the only one I put on here. Okay, let's go to something else. So they love these like pie chart looking ones. This is just like a pie chart. Okay, I am going to do pie chart I'll just make a pie chart over here. How about that? Okay. And let's say my pie chart's going to represent like certain bills I pay. So I have to pay water, sadly. And I have to pay, I get to pay water, right? I mean, I need it. Water, and then I also got to pay for the gas bill. Gas. And then I also got to pay for, let's say, electricity. That's kind of important, right? Electricity. Okay, let's say my water bill makes up 20% of, my bills. Gas makes up 40%. And let's say the electric bill makes up the rest of it, which would be 40% as well. Let's say in total, everything combined, I spend like $1,000. Okay, so what they might ask, so everything combined, I spend $1,000. They might ask, how much is the gas bill? Whoops. Gas bill. Yeah? Now, how are we going to figure out the gas bill? Well, that's just going to be, what you're going to do is you're going to take the amount that everything is worth. So everything here in total comes out to $1,000. So I'm going to take the $1,000, I'm going to multiply it by whichever one I'm looking for. So gas is going to be 0.40. So I'm going to multiply it by 0.40, and that comes out to 400. So I spent 400 on the gas alone. I spent $400 on that. Yeah, they might ask, how much was the water? Well, to get the water, you're just going to do the same thing. So let's say we go for the water. You're going to take the full amount, you multiply it by whatever the water is, so 0.20. And that, in this case, would come out to $200. So this one is, just the water is $200. Okay? Now, you also need to be able to go backwards, okay? So that right there, what I just showed you, you should be able to answer almost all of those, and then not the last one. The last one I'm going to show you right now. Let's say they do something similar to that, yeah? So I have that. Since I have this like bill idea, I'll just stick with it. Let's say the water, we got the gas, and we got the electric. And let's say the water makes up, 15%. The gas makes up 45%. And let's say, what is that up to? 50, 60. So this makes up 40%. Yeah? Okay. And then they say, oh, just the gas alone. The gas costs, let's say, like $550. And they say, so if you spent $450 on the gas. How much was everything? You know, how much was it all together? How much did you pay? Okay, well, we know from the one above. Here, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. It's like freezing on me. So we know that from the one above, if you take the full amount and multiply it by like 0.45, you get how much it was for gas. So like if we did this, the full amount, that's the total. Here, you know what? Instead of using an X, I'll just say it's like a T for total. And we multiply it by 0.45, we should get the gas bill, right? Which we know comes out to $550. Now you see why I was showing you those basic ones that we did above? Well, I want to know what the total amount is, so I can divide it by 0.45. I don't know why it keeps doing that, 550. Okay, so if I want to figure out what the total amount was, I'm going to divide by that 0.45 like we did, like I showed you guys before. And then that'll give us our total amount because it cancels it over here. And 550 divided by 0.45 is going to be 50 divided by 0.45, 1,222.22. 1,222.22 dollars. There you go. So that's what you're getting at percentages, I think, is you're pretty much going to be getting like a pie chart type thing. So you're going to have to find the percentage of the total, or find, like if they give you a certain part of it, you got to find the total. And then also, you know, these discount ones you're going to be able to do. And these ones where you're like finding like an addition to the amount, so like a tip. So like, yeah, and then there you go. I hope that all makes sense. I hope percentages made sense, and I'll see you in the next video.